This is Delayed Flight Divorce, a butterfly effect prose written by Linwood Mann, narrated by Linwood Mann. The glass-paneled windows of Newark Liberty International Airport reflected the steady drizzle outside, the droplets cascading down in sync with the passengers' collective sighs. The departure board blinked persistently, its glowing letters announcing a wave of delays. Flights to Atlanta, and by extension, several connecting destinations, were suspended. At the heart of the disruption was a seemingly mundane malfunction. The underground rail at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. The automated doors of the People Mover, tasked with shuttling travelers between terminals, were refusing to close properly. What began as a minor technical issue spiraled into chaos as frustrated passengers filled the concourses, unable to make connections, and airlines scrambled to rearrange schedules. Among the restless crowd at Gate 17C was Carl Winters. He sat slumped in an uncomfortable plastic seat, his carry-on at his feet and a laptop perched precariously at his knees. Carl's salt and pepper hair was unkempt, his shirt wrinkled from a rushed morning, a morning that seemed light years away now. His phone buzzed for the fifth time in as many minutes. The screen lit up with Monica and a picture of a smiling woman. Carl hesitated before pressing decline. He could already hear her voice in his head, sharp, biting, demanding an explanation. His stomach churned, knowing full well this delay would be the final nail in the coffin of a marriage already teetering on the edge. "Excuse me, Mr. Winters," a gate agent called, snapping Carl out of his thoughts. "About your request for any update from Atlanta? We're doing everything we can, but there's no change on the delay just yet." Carl nodded absently, offering a tight-lipped smile. It wasn't her fault. None of this was. Yet he couldn't shake the gnawing resentment bubbling within him. Resentment towards the faulty train in Atlanta, towards the airport's inability to anticipate such issues, and most of all, towards himself for leaving things unresolved with Monica before flying out. A young woman seating across from Carl juggled her wailing toddler, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and despair. An older couple to his left whispered to each other, their hands intertwined. The chaos of delayed flight seemed to amplify the raw humanity of the moment, frustration, resignation, and in some cases, connection. Carl closed his laptop and stared at the Rain Street tarmac. His mind drifted to the night he and Monica first met. It was at a jazz bar in downtown Atlanta, the kind of place where the music wraps around you like a warm embrace. Monica had been a force of nature, her laughter infectious, her eyes sparkling with mischief. They'd danced until closing and then spent hours talking in the parking lot, oblivious to the world around them. Now that spark felt like a distant memory. Their conversations had become strained, each word laced with unspeakable grievances. Carl had always thought they could weather the storm. Until now. Another buzz, this time a text. "Monica, call me when you land. We need to talk." Carl exhaled, his chest listening and tightening. Those 4 words carried the weight of inevitability. He typed out a quick response. "Carl, still stuck in Newark. No idea when I'll get home." He stared at the message before sending it, wondering if it even mattered anymore. Did she care what he was typing? Did he? A sudden announcement cracked over the PA system, pulling Carl's attention back to the present. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the continued delay. Due to technical issues at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, flights to Atlanta are expected to resume later this evening. We appreciate your patience." A collective groan rippled through the crowd. Carl checked his watch. If the delay stretched into the night, he missed his connection to Atlanta, to Charlotte, In the slim chance of salvaging what was left of the day with Monica, a fellow passenger seated nearby struck up a conversation. "You headed to Atlanta?" the man asked, his southern drawl thick. Carl nodded, connecting to Charlotte. "You?" "Home. Been away for 2 weeks. Wife gonna kill me if I don't walk through that door tonight," the man said with a chuckle. Carl forced a smile but said nothing. The irony wasn't lost on him. He envied the man's optimism, the belief that despite everything, his wife would be waiting for him. Hours dragged on. The rain outside turned into a steady downpour, mirroring Carl's growing sense of despair. By the time the flight was finally cleared for boarding, it was well past midnight. Carl's shoulders sagged with exhaustion as he shuffled onto the plane, his mind racing with scenarios of what waited him at home. The flight itself was uneventful, but Carl's thoughts were anything but. He replayed his last conversation with Monica, dissecting every word, every pause. What could he say to fix this? Was it even possible? When the plane touched down in Charlotte, it was nearly 3 a.m. Carl turned on his phone and saw another text from Monica. "Don't bother coming home. I've made up my mind." The words hit him like a powerful blow. He slumped back into his seat. The hum of passengers disembarking faded into the background. For a moment he sat there, staring at the screen, his mind blank. The next few hours passed in a haze. Carl collected his luggage and took a cab to a hotel, unable to face the reality waiting for him at home. He lay awake in the unfamiliar room, the weight of regret pressing down on him. The faulty train doors in Atlanta would eventually be repaired. Flights would resume, schedules would stabilize, and passengers would move on with their lives. But for Carl, the delay had set in motion a chain of events he couldn't undo. He thought back to that night at the jazz bar, to the promises they'd made and the life they'd built together. He had always believed that love could withstand anything, but as he stared at the cracks in his reflection, he realized that even the toughest bonds could falter under the weight of neglect. Morning came, pale light filtering through the curtains. Carl reached for his phone, his fingers hovering over Monica's name. For the first time in years, he felt unsure of what to say, and so he said nothing.